Welcome everyone. I'm Seema Modi, correspondent at CNBC, alongside my colleague and partner in crime, Patricia Martell, supervising producer at CNBC. This is Women and Wealth, our digital series where we profile some of the most amazing and inspirational female founder stories across corporate America. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've got a very special guest today, Patty.
Yes, Seema, thank you so much. So today's guest is Karla Gallardo. She's a Latina founder, ex-Goldman, ex-Apple, Stanford Business School. She co-founded the fashion company Cuyana in 2011. Let me bring her in. Karla, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Karla, let's just start from the beginning because I think the story is really interesting. So you started your career at Goldman Sachs as an investment banker, and you had this passion for fashion, and you said, I'm gonna give it a go. So can you just kind of walk us through that path?
Of course, yeah. The interesting thing is that it didn't happen from one day to the other. It took me 10 years to really get the guts, feel that I had the fundamentals to get started and to kind of let go of that path that I was in to then start this business that became my dream business. Um, No, there were a few moments in my journey that took me to Cuyana, and there were kind of pivotal moments, and particularly my immersion in the U.S. after I moved here from Ecuador for my college degree, and I can describe to you what those are, and let's get to those. But as they were happening, kind of this idea was forming in my brain of this could be something really amazing. This company could be really great. But I'm also, an Ecuadorian who had the opportunity to have a high school education, applied to college in the U.S. I got into an Ivy League school. I was at Brown University. I did my math degree. I was accepted into, back then the top investment bank in the world. I had a salary that I couldn't even imagine. And when comparing that salary to, the salaries of like the top salaries in Ecuador, it was incredible. I was 21 years old. And how could I give all of this up? I am one of the few, one of the handful, to then kind of throw myself into something that may or may not work. So that was, a big debate and me that made it hard to just give it all up. And so in a way, my process has been a very thoughtful process that always had a fallback plan, from all of these kind of pivotal moments while I was becoming American that, made me realize this is a business opportunity, to then deciding at that eventually when I was working at Goldman Sachs after I graduated from business school that it is time I can get started. I always had my fallback plan. So it took a long time.
But I think it's interesting to point out that neither you nor your co-founder Shilpa Shah had any experience or background in retail or design or fashion.
Yeah, I consider that our biggest blessing. The retail industry and just fashion in general, um, there are ways and set ways that haven't changed for decades. And I think that if I would have gotten my training from how things were done traditionally, I would have had a lot of blind spots that wouldn't have allowed me to innovate in the business model that we have. I mean, a big piece of why we produce the quality product that we produce and sell it at the price points that we sell is because we innovated the supply chain in a way that's really awesome. And it's super efficient, it's fast. We make products that sell through at over 90%, and that allows us to keep feeding. It's fed with data so that it's a very intelligent supply chain that uses the best in class suppliers of the world. If I would have had the training from how to make products traditionally, seasonally, where products end up being liquidated at the end of the season, without that level of intelligence, I think that Cuyana wouldn't be what it is today. And then not only on the supply chain side and just the quality of our products, also on the sustainability side, because forming kind of a supply chain without knowing how it works elsewhere, you do think of why would you waste, right? And you do think of let's go for the best, most organic materials. and you just think a little differently. So I think that was a blessing for us when it came to creating the business model and kind of the backbone for Cuyana. That said, that also was a huge challenge for us, because without the network and without the contacts and being known, launching a fashion brand is really hard. And so, you're out there, you have an amazing product, amazing supply chain. How do you sell? How do you scale? That was our biggest challenge.
And how have you been able to get through some of those biggest obstacles, Karla?
Yes, I mean, I think Shilpa and I both, this is one of the things that drove us to work with each other. We are persistent. We work our butts off, and no challenge is an impossible challenge. And so for us, it's been, one by one, meeting people one by one. Every door that opens, we run for it. We just, we don't shy away from it. We're graceful along the way. And as doors are opening, we do it from our heart. We form actually authentic relationships. We don't take advantage of any relationship. We're grateful for relationships. We pay it forward, we pay it backward. So it's really been a process. I mean, we've been building this business for now more than 10 years, where we started with zero connections in the fashion industry to now where we are. We know a lot of people, and we don't only know them, we actually have really strong relationships. We love each other, and we have a lot of friends. So it's been a lot of work, I would say. That's the number one, and the number two is just, it's. I think it could have, many times we could have shied away from doing things, or it just felt sometimes that we didn't belong. We didn't have the experience, the connections. But we were in it together. It was part of why having a founder in this journey has been so important, because it was the two of us. And and we just shared our skills. So Shilpa's she calls herself the door opener, but she's like, I'm gonna throw, or she's like, I'll throw you the ball. She like throws me the ball, and she says, I serve it, right? Like, and that's our connection. She really is really great at opening doors, and I'm really great at the engagement and kind of
The closer.
Getting the deal done.
So you tag team.
We
do. Tag
team. We do. So you recognize that what we're each good at, and I think that's really special, and we admire each other for that, for what we are good at, and we lean on each other for those.
That's great advice, Patty. Right, for a lot of the founders who are watching, or female business entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that's kind of like our story also, right? Yeah. When we started this project, we didn't know, like, there were certainly things that I didn't know. And, I had a background and experience in production, like on the producing side. And so I think we also saw this opportunity to blend our expertise. And it was an opportunity, I think, for both of us to grow, certainly for me to expand my skill set, not only like move into the digital side, but then also move to this side of the camera, which in itself, has some some growing pains. But no, I think it's important. And something else that we have heard from other female entrepreneurs, that you should focus on what you're good at, and then let other people do the other things that you're either like not interested in doing, or the other things you don't know how to do, right?
Because sometimes women will say, well, I know how to do A, but I don't know how to do B, so maybe I shouldn't even try at all. But clearly, right. Karla, with your story, you found someone who had the skills that perhaps you didn't have, and together you guys had that full package.
Yeah, and together we didn't have the skills needed, or the experience in retail, that we just learned together. So that's the one thing I think, many, when I talk to entrepreneurs who are afraid of entering areas that they don't know, it is okay. You also learn along the way, and you can, your brain can really expand in miraculous ways. For me, I thought I was a numbers person for life. And I mean, I was really confident doing math. That was my college degree, applied math. And I went into finance. I loved spreadsheets. I still do. I mean, I love numbers. I love all of that. And I never imagined myself designing product. I loved fashion. I mean, I adored fashion always, and continue to. But and I really wanted to be in that world, but I couldn't imagine myself being creative. But through this journey, I actually consider myself creative now, and I've been doing done a lot of tests of like my brain before and now, and I qualify as somebody who's super creative now. So there's always the room for learning, and it's never late.
But Cuyana is really, and you've talked about this, it's really an extension of you and your culture, right?
Yes, it is. It's bringing to life a lot of the ways in which I was brought up when I was a child in Ecuador, that kind of brought peace to our home, and that I think um, create a lot of anxiety in homes where that grounding isn't there. And um, I grew up in a home that was very intentional, and I didn't realize it was very intentional until I came to America. I actually really disliked it because as a kid and as a teenager, I always wanted more. And I remember there at some point when I was, I don't know, yeah, 10, 11, a Swiss carpenter had moved to Ecuador and kind of started his wood making business. And my parents decided to make, my sister and my bedrooms with him. And it took like a while. He carved like our beds, whatever. And then once the furniture arrived, like my parents were like, well, here's your furniture and you're going to have it all the way through your marriage. And I was like, what? No, like this is a real investment. And it was beautiful. I mean, it was like beautiful wood, but I would never, like, that's how purchases were made to last for so long. They were made to be taken care of. Like we were taught to take care of our products. My dad, he's still proud of his 30-year-old shoes because he changes the soles of them because the shoes are amazing and they were bought in Europe, but he changes the soles in Ecuador. And he's always like, look at these 30-year-old shoes. And when I was a teenager, I would cringe at that. But now I look back and I'm like, God, I love my dad because, and now today we consider that sustainable and he bought good quality products, but that's kind of the upbringing I had there. And then I moved to America and I experienced something completely different. And, I moved here in kind of in August of 2001. And by November, I was just completely transformed in my habits and how I shopped. I remember I saw the first Macy's, kind of, that would like broadcast people sleeping outside in tents to get into the stores for Black Friday. And I was like, what is happening? I was like just so shocked, but I quickly started to shop without thinking. And I got a phone call from my dad at some point, and I had a credit card from home, and I never I was so thoughtful and careful with what I purchased, but he asked me, he's like, what did you buy? I just got your bill. Like, what is this? And he's like, what did you get? And I couldn't say one thing that I was excited about. And that's when I realized, oh my gosh, this is contagious. I'm not happy. I had a lot of things, a lot of new things, but I wasn't proud of anything. And that wasn't a good feeling. And I think that those moments, I realized there's a better way of living. There's a better way of buying. And even though that in America, there's so many amazing things and so much supply of product and options, there's room to teach consumers how to buy better so that eventually, those purchases feel good and they don't bring guilt.
Wow, it's amazing to see how your upbringing and your Latin American heritage has played an influential role in how you lead as an entrepreneur. How do you think your story now plays with your family back home in Ecuador, the community? There must be a lot of pride. I mean, I can tell you, being the daughter of immigrants, I think we all feel it in a way as well, right? When you're able to break through in whatever capacity it is, there's a lot of pride back home.
I think so. Once I moved here, I never went back from in a full-time capacity. And so I visited through time. And I used to visit a lot when I was in college and I had time off. But since I started work, going back home has been minimal, a few days a year max. If I had the chance, I tend to get myself really deep into working and not make as much time for time off. But the most recent years I've gone back, it's been amazing because not only I've always felt like I have this huge responsibility to come back to Ecuador and help other people because I had an advantage and now I'm here, and now how can I help others? It's always been my top of mind since I was a kid. I always wanted to give back. And since a few years ago, I always felt great because there were people that I could help kind of get the guts to start their business or help them with their business plan. And there's always been kind of that entrepreneurial side of me, that being able to contribute back. And the part that now makes me even more excited the last couple of years is that we are actually starting to make a dent to a larger population in Ecuador through Cuyana. We can talk about that, but we had a big Panama hat campaign, and the Panama hat is made in Ecuador, and we're actually making a larger dent in terms of like claiming our origin and heritage back for that hat. And that's had a lot of impact, and just going back and talking to the community, and there's so much more work to do there too, and more coming this year. But I think that now through my business, not only me as a person, Karla, right, but now with Cuyana, we can actually make a larger impact for the larger community, and that's what makes me even more excited.
Karla, I want to go back to the business though, because you touched on this. When you first moved to the U.S., we live in a conspicuous consumption world, right? And with fast fashion, with social media, and more being more, how did you then, I guess, get consumers to buy into this idea of buying less?
Yeah.
Because it's your company is doing well. It's clearly resonating, right? You've had double-digit growth almost every year since inception. So consumers are buying into it.
Yeah. I think that helping consumers buy better is easier than kind of the change that needs to happen from a brand standpoint, from the retail side, right? The producers of that product and how they're marketing. I think the challenge wasn't in having consumers buy less. Once a consumer finds a product that she loves, like once our customer buys, let's say, a tote that she identifies as something she needs and wants and gets it, and then she's buying it every day, she learns or has the feeling of, God, this was a great purchase. And if we on our end make a product that's going to last through time and did our part on that, then this relationship is just so strong through time, because our customer is reaching for our products every day. And we've helped her understand, number one, how to buy a product that she wants, right? And we're helping her through that process. And that feeling that she has creates this tie with our brand. And that's a different feeling than the one I had when my dad called me and when I was in college, and he asked me, "What did you buy?" I was like, "Oh my God, I don't even know what to tell you. I'm so embarrassed." And so really it's about opening the door to the customer and giving her that product that's gonna, make her feel that way. The hard thing is that we're doing this in the context of hundreds, thousands of brands that are just pushing so much product to the consumer. Then they have to sell through their inventories, and so then there's massive discounts that make the prices of those products, like, all of a sudden be like, how could I not buy this at this price? Or also brands that told you to buy, I'm making this up, a purple skirt last month, and then this month they're telling you purple is totally out. What are you doing? Green is a new color. You're completely irrelevant, right? So we're doing this in that context, and so there's that kind of juxtaposition of just dynamics going on. But ultimately the customer is smart, and she's strong. And yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say, you have a great ambassador in Meghan Markle, who has worn your pieces, and people see that they love her style. That must have been, that's free marketing for you. It doesn't get better than that.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it so much. I think that's the part that makes us most excited, is that we have brand ambassadors or brand lovers who've again gotten that one product from us, loved it, and then decide that they kind of want to be a closer part of this fewer better system or assortment or brand, and the repetition is what works the most, right? Because then you know that they love it. So that, and that really helps.
But just to be clear, she's not, you don't pay her. That she is just
No.
truly loves the brand.
Yes.
Exciting. Karla, what's the big dream now? 2023, you've built this great fashion brand. Is it to sell it to a larger company, to go public? Curious what your big dreams are going
Yeah.
forward.
Look, our biggest dream is to really change how products are made, how customers buy those products, to make a dent in this industry, right? The fashion industry ranks among the top polluting industries in the world. Creates a lot of sense of guilt in consumers. It can also be a beautiful industry, right? Because when we get those products that make us feel great, they bring a lot of joy to us. But there's a lot of change that can happen for it to be just a better contributor to the planet. And my dream is to build that big brand that everybody in the world knows, and that is, as we're building it, we're driving change. And I think we've done that. We launched our Lean Closet program in 2012, where customers could donate back their clothes that they didn't want in their closet and make space for new. That's kind of become something bigger now. We help customers get gifts that they actually want. We launched a hinting feature on our site back in 2013. Some developer loved it, created an app for it. Hinting is on so many websites now. It's great. And, part of what we do, we don't want to be that brand that's like, don't look at what we're doing. We do want our products not to be replicated, but in terms of just those tools to help customers buy better, and for brands to produce better, to be more sustainable, we do like being the example. And so our dream is to just become that global brand, that big global brand. And look, whether it's an IPO, whether we sell the business, that path will come along the way, but the top priority is to consistently grow and be that brand that delivers on that.
And you're expanding into retail, right? You have 7 retail locations.
Yes, retail, brick and mortar has always been part of our journey since 2013. And again, part of the innovation back then, brands that were being born online were online only, and there was a big movement towards saying that it's the end of retail, the end of brick and mortar. But we never believed that. I mean, I could not imagine building a brand that was about connecting really close to the customer through, in a way that we taught her and educated her how to buy better, where products are made, how they're made. Couldn't imagine doing that only through digital channels. Like, we needed physical spaces, a community, the touch and feel, the trying on, all of that was always important in the vision. And so we believed in retail from day one. We took advantage of those years where stores were closing for us to test into pop-up stores a lot, and we didn't commit to leases. We tested locations, we tested sizes, and we came up with a great formula for retail, which is what we have now. And we run a profitable channel, and we have, 7 stores sprinkled throughout the U.S., and we continue to be believers, and we'll continue to grow it.
What about international expansion?
Oh, it's absolutely coming. Again, thoughtful growth at Cuyana. We want to make sure that, as we expand internationally, we're serving that customer in a perfect way. And expanding takes a lot. It's not just selling product internationally and shipping it, right? We need to make sure the operations are right, the brand is right, the messaging is right. And, different countries are different, different continents are different. And so it's in our expansion plans, but we really are focused today in the US and really serving our customer here really well. But we know that international customers really want us when they come to we have a big cohort of customers who come and buy really when they visit the US. And so we know that opportunity is there, and we're working towards expanding.
Karla, I'm wondering, what are you hearing about or what are you seeing from your customers? We hear a lot about the consumer and weakness, and then pulling back on shopping. Are you seeing any of that?
Not yet. We are not. We're not seeing that yet. Look, we did see it during COVID. We had a shift in what our customer needed. And we are a brand that wants her to buy products that she needs only and that she's going to love. And we shifted our assortment strategy. The majority of our business is bags. And back then, customers did not need bags. They needed loungewear they needed above the keyboard dressing, and we quickly shifted our supply chain to give her those products. Since then, we've reverted back, right, to what she to the assortment composition that we had before, and we're not seeing softness yet. And when we do, we will pivot. Again, our goal is, we don't think of the today or this year and trying to push as much product out and sell through. We work really close with our suppliers to continue to adapt. And we didn't talk about our supply chain yet, but again, part of not being part of the industry made us focus on supply chain for the first 3 years of inception of the company, so that we build a supply chain that's super smart and adaptable. It's super fast, it's lean, and it has really strong relationships with suppliers so that we can adapt to these changes, and we're not stuck with inventory.
Who are your suppliers, by the way? Is it Asia, Latin America?
Across the world. So again, the focus being quality, we go to those countries that are best at that material. And so Italy, they're amazing at leather, cashmere wool. In Argentina, we do some leather. We do alpaca in Peru, straw in Ecuador. And so we have these micro supply chains set up around the entire globe, depending on the material that we produce. And the peculiar thing about Cuyana is that the entire supply chain from beginning to end based on that material happens in that location. And so we're not transporting materials from one country to the other, right, and causing negative impact to the planet from just a pollution standpoint. But also it allows us to be super efficient by keeping everything in one country. So that's how it works.
It sounds like, and I think we heard this also from Bianca Gates, the woman who co-founded Birdies, that you have small orders, right? Like, so you work with like smaller manufacturers and more of a artisanal, craftsman style, but you're not ordering these huge orders, right? So that allows you to be nimble and to make changes, or if something isn't working, to pivot.
So our business is a little different than that. We actually, so our about 70 to 80% of our products are what we call best-selling products. And these are products that, we sell throughout the entire year and that have been with us for many years. We reorder monthly into these products. And this is the beautiful model from a supplier standpoint, from our factory standpoints, because it's really predictable. And for us too, right? We know the sales curves incredibly well of these products. And we make these products, we are experts at these products. So through time, we're making them in an even more optimized ways and faster ways. And this kind of baseline of products shares materials in a way that makes it very efficient and sustainable, right? And so every month we are placing orders for these products really close to launch date. So that's what makes it efficient. The lead times of most of our products are really close. And so we can just be making switches based on the most recent data that we get. And then 20 to 30%, depending on the month, of the other part of sales are new product that we are putting to market and that we're testing and understanding. And those are the products that we make in small batches, because what we don't want to do is what the traditional retail industry does, which is launch a big season with a lot of new stuff, and then some stuff hits and some stuff doesn't, and then you have to liquidate what doesn't sell. For us, we produce small batches of these new designs. We put them to market, see how it does, and if we see the velocity that we like, then it ends up becoming a bestseller and moves into that other category that I shared with you.
Wow, learning so much. As we wrap up here, Karla, what's your big piece of advice for female founders who are watching?
Take your time. No, I think that we've been hearing all of these awesome stories about entrepreneurs that kind of sacrifice it all, leave everything, and start their businesses, and then their businesses become billion-dollar businesses, and they go public. And those stories are amazing, but they're the very few. Building a business that has strong fundamentals, that will last through time. It takes time, and it's really scary to do. And I'm a big believer in having fallback plans and testing before going big. And just the journey is longer than I think what we've seen in the media as kind of the journey of an entrepreneur. And my advice is, it is okay to take your time. In fact, take it, because it turns out that it's better to just, do things well and maybe a little slower than kind of those like taking those huge risks that maybe end up in failures. So that's my advice. A little different than what probably we've been hearing.
I love it, actually. It's realistic, it's practical, it takes time.
Absolutely.
Next time.
Well, that's a half hour. Thank you so much, Karla, for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you for sharing your story with us. And we will be back next week. Seema, we have another great interview. But so thank you, everyone, for joining us. And we'll see you next week. Bye.